Becoming the version of yourself that no one can ignore starts with a choice. A choice that most people will never make because it requires a level of honesty and accountability that feels uncomfortable, even painful. But that discomfort is exactly what transforms you. When you decide to own your identity, you're not just choosing who you want to be. You're choosing the mentality, the standards, and the energy that you carry into every room, every challenge, and every opportunity. Being that MF means stepping into a version of yourself that operates with intention, confidence, and zero hesitation. It means walking with a presence that doesn't come from arrogance, but from clarity. You know who you are. You know what you've survived. You know what you're capable of. And when you truly understand that, the world starts moving differently around you. Most people never reach this level because they spend their entire lives shrinking themselves to fit into spaces that were never built for their greatness. They hide their potential because they're worried about being judged. They silence their voice because they fear being misunderstood. They dim their light to avoid making others uncomfortable. But owning your identity requires the exact opposite. It demands that you stop apologizing for your ambition. It demands that you stop waiting for permission to become powerful. It requires that you stop looking outward for validation and start looking inward for direction. The person you're becoming isn't created by the world. It's created by your choices, your habits, your mindset, and your willingness to push past every limitation that used to hold you back. Every day you wake up, you're presented with two options: stay the same or evolve. Staying the same is easy. It requires nothing new from you. It allows you to remain in your comfort zone, surrounded by familiar excuses and predictable routines. But evolution demands courage. It demands effort. It demands discipline. When you choose evolution, you're choosing to confront the parts of yourself that you've avoided, the fear, the insecurity, the procrastination, the doubt. You face them not with weakness, but with determination. You tell yourself, I may not be where I want to be yet, but I'm not staying where I am. That mindset alone begins transforming you into someone others can't overlook. Owning your identity also means embracing your flaws, your failures, and your past. Too many people believe that their mistakes disqualify them from greatness, but in reality, your past is part of your power. Every setback taught you something. Every failure built resilience. Every disappointment showed you what you truly value. When you stop hiding from your story and start owning it, you become dangerous in the best way. You no longer fear criticism because you already know what you've survived. You no longer fear failure because you've already risen from worse. You no longer fear judgment because you've already judged yourself and come out stronger. Your identity becomes armor, not a weakness. Being that version of yourself also means protecting your energy. Not everyone deserves access to you. Not everyone deserves a seat at your table. When you raise your standards, you naturally outgrow certain people, environments, and habits. And that's not loss. That's elevation. You start surrounding yourself with people who push you, who challenge you, who inspire you to level up. You become intentional about where your time goes, who influences your mindset, and what you feed your mind. You begin to understand that greatness isn't built randomly. It's built through alignment. Your circle, your environment, and your routines either build you or break you. The moment you decide to own your identity is the moment you stop living as a character in someone else's story. You stop following the expectations that society tries to impose. You stop letting your potential be suffocated by fear. And you start writing your own narrative. You start walking differently, not because you're trying to impress anyone, but because you're finally aligned with purpose. You speak differently. Not to get approval, but because your words come from strength. You move differently, not from ego, but from conviction. People notice that, they feel that. And that presence, that authenticity, that unshakable confidence, that's what makes you unforgettable. But here's the truth. Owning your identity is not a one-time decision. It's a daily commitment. Every morning, you have to remind yourself of who you're becoming. You have to keep choosing growth when comfort calls your name. You have to choose discipline when laziness whispers in your ear. You have to keep your vision in front of you even on days when motivation is nowhere to be found. Identity is shaped by consistency. It's built through small choices repeated with purpose. Every disciplined action, every moment you choose progress over excuses, every time you follow through when no one is watching, you strengthen the identity you're building. And once you truly embrace that identity, opportunities start aligning. Not because life magically becomes easier, but because your mindset finally matches your goals. You no longer chase validation, you attract respect. You no longer seek approval, you command presence. You no longer hope for success. You work for it with a fire that others can feel. You stand out not because you're trying to, but because you've become undeniable. The world makes room for people who know who they are. The world follows people who lead themselves. When you own your identity, you become the kind of person who walks into a room and shifts the energy without saying a word. You become someone who doesn't need to announce their greatness. It shows in their discipline, in their consistency, in their results. You become that MF, not because you call yourself one, but because your actions leave no room for doubt. Unshakable discipline is the foundation of every version of yourself that you dream about becoming. It's the internal engine that doesn't care about your mood, your excuses, or your temporary feelings. Discipline is built on commitment, not comfort. Most people rely on motivation, but motivation is unreliable. It comes and goes like the weather. Discipline, on the other hand, is the force that keeps you moving when everything inside you wants to stop. It's the voice that says, get up, when your body says, rest. It's the mentality that says, keep going, when your emotions tell you to quit. When you commit to doing the work, no matter how you feel, you separate yourself from the average, from the ordinary, and from the undisciplined masses who only show up when it's easy. Real discipline starts in the moments where no one is watching. It's built in the silence, in the early mornings, in the late nights, in the daily choices that seem small but shape everything. You don't build a powerful life with big dramatic decisions. You build it with small, consistent ones. Waking up on time even when you're tired. Showing up for your goals even when you're stressed. Pushing yourself even when no one would blame you for taking a break. Discipline is not about perfection. It's about consistency. It's about developing the habit of honoring your commitments to yourself. And once you master that, you become unstoppable. Because most people can't even stay loyal to the promises they make to themselves. There will always be days where you don't feel like working, where your mind is scattered, where everything seems heavy. Those days are the ones that define who you are. Anyone can train, work, study, or hustle when they feel good. Anyone can push hard when they're inspired or excited. But discipline shows its true power on the days when inspiration is gone. On the days where the world feels heavy, but you still take one more step. You still show up. You still give effort. That's where greatness is created. Not in the highlight moments, but in the hidden ones. The days where you grind through the mental resistance and refuse to let feelings dictate your actions. When you live with unshakable discipline, you stop negotiating with yourself. There is no, I'll do it tomorrow. No, I don't feel like it today. No, just this one time. You operate from commitment, not convenience. You train your mind to override your emotions. You shift from trying to be comfortable to trying to be consistent. And that shift changes your entire life. You don't grow by doing what's easy. You grow by doing what's necessary. Discipline gives you control over yourself. And when you control yourself, you control your direction, your progress, and your future. People think discipline is restrictive, but it's actually freedom. Discipline frees you from regret. It frees you from excuses. It frees you from the disappointment of knowing you could have given more. Without discipline, you stay trapped in cycles of starting and stopping, trying and failing, planning and procrastinating. With discipline, you create momentum. You build confidence because you trust yourself. You build power because you follow through. You build a legacy because you keep moving forward long after others have given up. Discipline is the difference between wanting something and having it. There's always going to be a voice inside your head trying to convince you to take the easy path. That voice is comfortable, familiar, and seductive. It tells you to sleep in. It tells you that you've done enough. It tells you that your goals can wait. But the disciplined version of you speaks differently. That version of you tells you the truth, even when it's difficult to hear. It tells you that the easy path has never created anything worth having. It tells you that you're capable of more. It tells you that you didn't come this far just to stop. When you choose discipline, you choose the voice that pushes you forward instead of the one that pulls you back. Unshakable discipline also teaches you to master your routines. The way you start your day becomes the tone for everything that follows. When you begin your morning with purpose, whether it's training, reading, working, or improving, you build momentum before the world even wakes up. You gain control over your day instead of letting the day control you. Discipline is not just about doing hard things. It's about creating systems that make the hard things non-negotiable. When your routine becomes structured with purpose, your mind becomes structured with clarity. Another powerful part of discipline is learning how to stick to your long-term vision even when the results aren't immediate. Most people quit because they don't see progress fast enough. But discipline teaches you to trust the process, to believe in the compounding effect of effort, Every rep counts. Every choice counts. Every small action adds up. The progress you can't see is still being built beneath the surface. Discipline keeps you focused when results are hidden. It keeps you grinding when recognition is absent. It keeps you faithful to the vision, even when the world doubts you. There is a moment in every journey where you will want to quit, where the work feels too heavy, where the results feel too far, where the obstacles feel too big. That moment is the exact reason why discipline matters. Because if you can push through that moment, everything after becomes easier. Discipline builds resilience. It builds mental toughness. It teaches you that your feelings are temporary, but your goals are not. Once you learn how to act without relying on motivation, you become dangerous because nothing can stop you consistently showing up. When you become disciplined, your entire identity changes. You stop seeing yourself as someone who tries and start seeing yourself as someone who follows through. You stop waiting for the right moment and start creating it. You stop hoping for results and start earning them. Discipline makes you dependable, consistent, and powerful. And when people see that in you, they feel it. They respect it. They stop playing small. That's the moment everything in your life begins to shift. Most people shrink themselves because they're afraid of what stepping into their full potential might require. They fear the responsibility, the pressure, the expectations. They're so used to being comfortable that the idea of becoming more feels intimidating. But playing small has never brought anyone closer to their purpose. Playing small keeps your dreams buried, your voice quiet, and your power hidden. And deep down, you know you weren't built for mediocrity. You know there's a stronger, louder, more capable version of yourself waiting to break through. That version of you is tired of holding back, tired of overthinking, tired of letting fear dictate the pace of your life. That version of you is ready to rise. Tish! Truth is, you don't get extraordinary results by living an ordinary life. You don't unlock your potential by choosing the easy path. If you want to build something amazing, your career, your physique, your mindset, your life, you have to demand more from yourself every single day. Not occasionally. Not when motivation hits. Every day. That's the price of greatness. You have to hold yourself to a standard that makes other people uncomfortable. A standard that forces you to grow, forces you to sacrifice, forces you to level up. When you stop playing small, you stop giving yourself the option to quit, to delay, or to settle. You start operating with a level of intensity that most people can't even comprehend. Demanding more from yourself means refusing to accept anything less than what you're capable of. It means calling yourself out when you know you're lazy. It means pushing for that extra rep, that extra hour, that extra effort, even when your body or mind is screaming to stop. Most people say they want success, but they don't want the lifestyle that comes with success. They want the reward without the work. They want the spotlight without the grind. They want the results without the discipline. That's why they stay stuck. But when you truly want more, you stop negotiating with your excuses and start demanding more from your actions. Think about how many times you've held yourself back, not because you lacked ability, but because you lacked belief. You waited for the perfect moment. You waited for confidence. You waited for approval. But confidence doesn't come first. Action does. Growth doesn't happen before you take the leap. It happens because you take the leap. Every time you push yourself beyond what you thought you could do, you expand your identity. You start to realize that the limits you believed in were never real. They were just mental walls built from fear, doubt, and past failures. When you challenge those limits, they begin to crumble, and suddenly a bigger world opens up. A world where you can do more, become more, achieve more. Demanding more from yourself also means letting go of the version of you that's comfortable with half effort. The version of you that makes excuses, the version that procrastinates, overthinks, and settles. That version of you has held the steering wheel long enough. It's time for your strongest self to take control. The version of you that shows up even when tired. The version that works even when stressed. The version that keeps pushing even when progress feels slow. That version of you is capable of things you haven't even imagined yet. But you'll only meet that version if you stop playing small. There's a reason why the top performers in any field live by higher standards. They demand more from themselves because they know that average effort creates average results. They understand that nobody rises to the level of their goals. They fall to the level of their standards. If your standards are low, your life will reflect it. If your standards are high, your life will stretch to meet them. Raising your standards is uncomfortable at first. It challenges your habits, your thinking, your discipline. But once you raise them, you can never go back. You start to recognize the difference between what's easy and what's necessary. And greatness is always built on what's necessary. Playing small also keeps you surrounded by small-minded people. People who tell you to rest when you need to grind. People who tell you to settle because they settled. People who feel threatened by your ambition because it reminds them of what they're not doing. When you start demanding more from yourself, you naturally create distance from those who choose comfort over growth. And that's good, because elevation requires separation. If you want to grow, you cannot stay in environments that encourage complacency. You must surround yourself with people who challenge you, push you, and expect excellence from you. There will be moments when demanding more from yourself feels overwhelming, moments where you'll question if the work is worth it, moments where you'll feel tired, discouraged, or frustrated. But those moments are part of the transformation. They're proof that you're stretching beyond your limits. Pressure builds diamonds, heat hardens steel, resistance builds strength. You're not supposed to stay the same. You're supposed to evolve, and evolution always demands a price. Stop playing small. Stop waiting for things to get easier. Stop hoping someone else will push you. Push yourself. Hold yourself accountable. Raise your standards. Demand more effort, more focus, more consistency, more discipline. You don't need permission to be great. You don't need validation to level up. You don't need approval to step into your power. Turning pain into power is one of the most transformative decisions you will ever make in your life. Everyone experiences pain. Loss, failure, heartbreak, disappointment, setbacks. But not everyone learns how to use that pain as fuel. Most people let pain break them. They let it convince them they're not enough, that they're unlucky, that the world is against them. They let pain become a burden instead of a weapon. But when you choose to use every scar, every struggle, and every difficult moment as fire to drive you forward, you become a different kind of human being. You become someone who cannot be stopped, someone who turns every negative into strength, someone who walks through adversity with purpose instead of fear. Pain changes you, whether you want it to or not, but you get to decide how it changes you. You get to choose whether it weakens you or sharpens you. When you start viewing pain not as punishment but as preparation, everything shifts. Your mindset becomes stronger. Your determination becomes unbreakable. Your resilience becomes unmatched. You begin to understand that the pain you experience isn't there to destroy you. It's there to build you. Every hardship has a lesson. Every struggle has a purpose. Every discomfort has a message. But you only receive these messages when you stop running from pain and start learning from it. The strongest people you know didn't become strong by living easy lives. They became strong because life challenged them. They became strong because they endured moments that felt impossible. They became strong because they were forced to grow. Pain builds character. Pain builds humility. Pain builds focus. Pain builds gratitude. It reveals who you really are. It exposes your weaknesses so you can strengthen them. It humbles you so you never take success for granted. It sharpens your ambition so you never stay stuck in a comfort zone. Pain shapes you in ways ease never will. When everything is going well, it's easy to feel motivated, it's easy to feel confident, it's easy to feel unstoppable, but pain tests your character. Pain tests your discipline. Pain tests your dreams. It forces you to ask yourself, how badly do I really want this? Anyone can chase success when the path is smooth, but only the committed, the fierce, the relentless keep chasing it through storms. Pain is the fire that burns away weakness, excuses, and hesitation. It leaves behind a version of you that is tougher, wiser, and more determined than ever before. Turning pain into power requires shifting your mindset from victim to warrior. Instead of asking, why is this happening to me? Start asking, what is this teaching me? That one shift changes everything. Suddenly, pain becomes a guide rather than a punishment. You start recognizing patterns. You learn what you need to change. You learn what you need to let go of. You learn who you can trust, who you need to distance yourself from, and what you need to focus on. Pain becomes the teacher that forces you to level up. And sometimes, it's the only teacher that can. You have survived things you once thought would break you. You've been through moments that felt unbearable, yet you're still here. That alone proves your strength. But imagine what happens when you stop simply surviving your pain and start using it. Imagine taking your heartbreak and turning it into self-respect. Imagine taking your failures and turning them into strategies. Imagine taking your disappointments and turning them into motivation. That's where real transformation begins, when you stop seeing pain as the end and start seeing it as the beginning. Pain fuels ambition in a way comfort never can. When you've suffered, you become hungry. You become driven. You become focused. You stop wasting time. You stop lowering your standards. You stop accepting mediocrity. You start fighting for more because you know what it costs to stay the same. Pain reminds you that you have a limited time on this earth, and wasting that time being average is not an option. Pain reminds you that growth hurts, but so does staying stuck, and one of those choices leads you to power. Turning pain into power also means refusing to let your past define you. Your past may have shaped you, but it does not control you. The person you were, scared, broken, insecure, lost, is not the person you have to be. Every day is a chance to rewrite your story. Every day is a chance to take back control. Every day is a chance to transform your pain into lessons, strength, and purpose. Your scars are not signs of weakness. They are proof of survival. They are proof that you face darkness and wall. Get out stronger. And when you finally embrace your pain, you begin to inspire others without even trying. People see your resilience. They see your discipline. They see the strength you carry. They see someone who refuses to give up no matter how heavy life gets. That kind of energy is rare. That kind of mindset is powerful. You become a reminder that pain does not have to end you. It can remake you. There will be days where the pain feels overwhelming, days where you want to quit, days where you question everything. But those are the days that build you. Those are the days that prepare you for greatness. Those are the days that forge a stronger version of you. Don't run from those days. Use them. Honor them. Let them strengthen you. Turn your pain into power. Turn your struggle into strength. Turn your scars into weapons. Because once you learn how to use pain instead of fear it, you become unstoppable. You become unbreakable. You become that version of yourself who rises from everything life tries to bury you under. Pain is temporary. Power is forever. Relentless mindset is not something you're born with. It's something you build brick by brick through discipline, adversity, and a refusal to back down when things get hard. Most people want success, but very few are willing to develop the mental armor required to reach it. A relentless mindset means you don't give yourself the option to quit. It means you stop letting fear, doubt, and temporary emotions dictate the path of your life. It means you commit to your goals with a level of intensity that makes excuses irrelevant. This kind of mindset is what separates people who dream from people who execute, people who try from people who finish, and people who talk from people who dominate. A relentless mindset begins with clarity, knowing exactly what you want and why you want it. Without clarity, you dry. Fort. Without clarity, you get distracted. Without clarity, you lose focus every time life gets inconvenient. But when you know your mission, when your goals are burned into your mind, your actions start aligning with your purpose. You stop hesitating. You stop wasting time. You stop giving energy to things that don't move your life forward. A relentless mindset doesn't operate on feelings. It operates on purpose. And once you have purpose, quitting becomes impossible. Life will always throw challenges at you. That's unavoidable. But people with a relentless mindset don't view obstacles as roadblocks. They view them as tests. Tests of patience, tests of strength, tests of commitment. When adversity hits, most people collapse. They panic, they complain, they look for shortcuts or escape routes. But the relentless see adversity differently. They see it as training. They understand that every setback strengthens them. Every challenge builds resilience. Every struggle sharpens their focus. They don't fear obstacles. They use obstacles. And that's why they win. The relentless mindset also means becoming comfortable with discomfort. Growth requires suffering. Progress requires pain. Success requires sacrifice. If you're always looking for the easiest path, you will never discover your true potential. Being relentless means waking up early when you want to sleep in. It means training when your body is tired. It means working on your goals after a long day. It means saying no to distractions, temptations, and excuses. You push through discomfort not because you enjoy it, but because you value the person you're becoming more than the comfort you're giving up. That mindset is rare. That mindset is powerful. Another part of being relentless is learning to control your internal dialogue. Your mind can either be your greatest weapon or your greatest enemy. Most people lose the battle inside their own head before they ever take action in the real world. They talk themselves out of opportunities. They convince themselves they're not ready, not worthy, not capable. A relentless mindset refuses to entertain that kind of thinking. Instead of "I can't," you tell yourself, "I will." Instead of "this is too hard," you say, "this is necessary." Instead of "what if I fail," you ask, "what if I succeed?" You rewire your mind to focus on solutions instead of problems, on action instead of hesitation. To be relentless is to understand that success does not come quickly. It does not come easily. It does not come without frustration, doubt, or struggle. Most people quit because they expect fast results. They want instant gratification. They want progress without patience. But the relentless play the long game. They understand that meaningful achievements take time. They trust the process even when the results are not visible. They keep showing up when others disappear. They keep pushing long after motivation fades. They stay consistent long enough for consistency to pay off. The relentless mindset also means taking responsibility for everything in your life. No blaming, no complaining, no excuses. The moment you accept responsibility, you take back your power. You stop waiting for luck, opportunity, or perfect timing. You stop pointing fingers at circumstances or other people. You begin to understand that your life moves when you move. Your life changes and you change. Your destiny becomes something you build instead of something you wait for. That level of accountability is what elevates you to greatness. When you're relentless, failure does not define you. It fuels you. Failure becomes feedback. Instead of letting setbacks destroy your confidence, you let them sharpen your skills. You study what went wrong. You adjust. You improve. You grow. You refuse to let temporary defeat become permanent identity. Every time life knocks you down, you stand back up stronger, smarter, and more determined. That is the essence of relentless. And maybe the most important part of a relentless mindset is this: you do not let the opinions of others control your path. The world will try to label you, doubt you, judge you, mock your ambitions. But the relentless don't care. They don't need approval. They don't need applause. They don't need validation. Their mission is bigger than someone else's opinion. Their purpose is louder than someone else's doubt. They don't waste time explaining themselves because they're too busy executing. Being relentless transforms you. You start moving differently, thinking differently, working differently. You become someone people can rely on, someone who follows through, someone who doesn't back down. You stand out not because you're seeking attention, but because your consistency makes you undeniable. You become feared by your excuses. You become unrecognizable to your old self. And you become unstoppable in your pursuit of greatness. A relentless mindset is built, not gifted. It comes from discipline, hunger, self-belief, and the willingness to give everything you have, even when you feel like you have nothing left. Once you develop that mindset, life stops happening to you and starts happening because of you. You stop being reactive and start being intentional. You stop being average and start being exceptional. Be relentless. Be hungry. Be unshakable. Become the force that nothing can slow down and no one can break. That mindset is what makes you unstoppable. That mindset is what builds greatness. That mindset is what makes you that MF, the one who refuses to quit, refuses to settle, and refuses to live a life below their potential. Outworking everyone isn't about comparing yourself to others. It's about making a commitment to become the hardest working, most consistent, most disciplined version of yourself. It's about setting a standard of effort so high that quitting stops being an option. When you outwork everyone, you move with a level of focus and determination that most people will never experience. You're not trying to impress anyone. You're not trying to prove anything. You're simply honoring the standards you set for yourself. Becoming the person who can't be out-hustled means you show up with intensity, with hunger, and with discipline every single day, no matter how you feel, no matter what obstacles stand in your way. People say they want success, but very few are willing to give the level of effort required to earn it. Most people want results without sacrifice. They want rewards without struggle. They want progress without persistence. But greatness demands work. It demands long hours. It demands early mornings and late nights. It demands repetition, patience, discipline, and resilience. When you commit to outworking everyone, you make peace with the fact that you're going to have to consistently do things others are too lazy, too afraid, or too comfortable to do. You're going to have to push when others coast. You're going to have to sacrifice when others seek convenience. You're going to have to keep going long after others have stopped. The truth is, it's not the most talented or gifted people who rise to the top. It's the ones who refuse to be outworked. Talent can give you a head start, but effort is what keeps you in the race. Effort is what builds skill. Effort is what creates opportunity. Effort is what separates you from the masses. When you outwork everyone, you send a message to life itself that you're willing to do whatever it takes. You're not waiting for permission. You're not waiting for the perfect conditions. You're not waiting for motivation. You're taking action every day, consistently, relentlessly. Outworking everyone means mastering the art of consistency. It means showing up on the days you feel strong and on the days you feel weak. It means doing the work even when you're tired, stressed, unmotivated, or overwhelmed. The average person stops when they're tired. The unstoppable person stops when they're done. There's a massive difference between the two. The average person looks for reasons to slow down. The relentless person looks for reasons to keep going. Every workout, every task, every hour spent improving, you're building separation. You're widening the gap between who you were yesterday and who you're becoming today. To outwork everyone, you must learn to love discipline more than comfort. Comfort is the enemy of progress. It's seductive, it's familiar, and it's dangerous. Comfort convinces you to stay the same. Discipline pushes you into growth. Discipline forces you into becoming someone new. Every time you choose the harder path, the early morning instead of sleeping in, the workout instead of scrolling, the grind instead of procrastinating, you're building a foundation of excellence that cannot be shaken. That's what outworking everyone really means, building a life around effort rather than excuses. Many people think success is about big moments or huge breakthroughs. But success is built through small, consistent actions repeated over time. The extra hour of practice, the extra reps, the extra study, the extra discipline, the extra sacrifice, those extras compound into greatness. When everyone else stops at 100%, you find a way to give 110%. When everyone else slows down, you accelerate. When others take breaks, you stay locked in, not because you're trying to be perfect, but because you're trying to become undeniable. Outworking everyone also means controlling your environment. You have to surround yourself with people who challenge you, not people who hold you back. People who push you, not people who drain you. If you want to be the hardest worker in the room, you can't spend time in rooms that encourage laziness. You need people who inspire you through their own effort, people who hold you accountable, people who don't accept excuses. Being around complacent people will infect your mindset. Being around driven people will elevate it. You become what surrounds you. Another part of outworking everyone is learning to master your time. Time is the only resource you can't get back. When you waste time, you waste potential. The people who outwork everyone else are not necessarily working 20 hours a day. They're working with focus, intention, and efficiency. They don't drown in distractions. They don't scroll mindlessly. They don't procrastinate. They protect their time like it's gold. They understand that every minute spent unfocused is a minute stolen from their goals. So they guard their time. They eliminate distractions. They show up with intensity. Outworking everyone requires a level of mental toughness that doesn't get shaken by temporary setbacks. You will face challenges. You will face obstacles. You will face moments of doubt. You will face times where progress seems slow and results feel distant. But the person who outworks everyone doesn't quit. They adjust. They adapt. They stay committed. They push through the storms. Not because it's easy, but because they've decided that nothing will interfere with our mission. There's a deep satisfaction that comes with outworking everyone. Not in comparing yourself to others, but in knowing you gave everything you had. In knowing you left no potential unused, in knowing you didn't waste your gifts, your opportunities, or your time. When you can look in the mirror and say, I outworked the old me, that's victory. When you can look back on your journey and see the nights you sacrificed, the mornings you pushed through, the days you refused to quit, that's where pride comes from. Be the person who can't be out-hustled. Be the person who refuses to give less than everything. Be the person whose work ethic speaks louder than their words. Because once you make the decision to outwork everyone, you become unstoppable. You become undeniable. You become the one who rises, not because you were lucky, not because you were gifted, but because you refuse to be outworked.